Yeah, no, it's.
James, you're gonna have to speak loudly. Well, I'll wait when you open and I'll wait and see. We only have 3 people in the attendees, but do you know when MPD is gonna?
They said 6:30.
Amanda, do you know when Commissioner Umar is gonna be here? Whenever you want to say anything, it stopped trickling.
Good evening, everyone. So we are just waiting for our info session, 6:30 to 7 p.m. MPD, the community engagement team, will be here to answer questions, give a quick update. But we're just waiting for them to arrive. Of course, they may be out on call, but they have said they should be here tonight. We cannot start our official meeting until 7, so appreciate your patience, and we'll go from there. If folks show up from our later executive council member community announcements, we can move them up to the front as well. The patient game of local government, so thank you. No. I don't know that.
You're gonna have to be a little bit louder. You would have to join from a different account.
We try.
I do worry about the because then you would be side by side. It wouldn't be the full.
Or just doing the video.
Oh yeah, you would have to stop the video.
And then we can ask.
Yeah, that could work. Just let me know when you join so then I can mute. Oh,
I played at council, yeah. They're red light. I'm so sorry. Maybe next time.
Hello, if you can hear me better. Thank you in advance to the Zoom attendees for putting in the chat or the Q&A. There should be a little sound thing in the top left corner that you could click and it would X out sound.
No, I muted the iPad.
No, like this little next to the arrow where you would click for settings. Do you see it? Let me try. Leave this here. Just gonna do that.
Hi.
were trying to like make sure that iPad doesn't put out sound.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Oh, yes, we're waiting for MPD community engagement to arrive. I do think they'll be here at any moment. They said they should be here at 6:30 PM.
And ask if anyone in the audience, if they can hear us, to raise their hand.
Okay, if anyone can hear us on the Zoom, could you please either raise your hand or put in the Q&A? Thank you in advance for helping us out. Hi. Wonderful. Thank you, attendees.
I mean, if no, there's a.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We have had a distinguished guest arrive, but we are still waiting for MPD, hoping that they will show up to just do updates during the public safety and community engagement section. If not, I can share a little on the community engagement team at MPD and what we've done with them in the past. But right now, we have a member of the Ward 1 Council Member's Office, Jackie Castaneda, and she will give us a quick update from the CM, and then we'll go into our regularly scheduled meeting. So Jackie, if you want to come up, I have a little podium over there.
You're always sitting at the
Patrick is ready. And this is just audio, so don't worry. Great.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Excuse me if I end up pausing. I forgot to bring my glasses, so I'm gonna try to read my notes. But thank you for having me today. 1B, I'm really excited for you all to have this ANC meeting in person for the first time. This is my first ANC in person ever, so I'm really excited to be here with you all tonight. Just providing some updates from Councilmember Doe's office. My name is Jacqueline Castaneda. I am the Communications and Constituent Service Specialist for Councilmember Doe. And I am filling in for Kevin Pham, our Deputy Constituent Service Director, who normally will be attending the 1Bs, but again, very excited to be here nonetheless. Some of the updates that I would like to provide are mostly just legislative updates. This was a big week for Councilmember Doe's 2 main bills that we were really excited to get a hearing on and has made the first vote pass. So that's the Human Sanctuary Bill and then the Local Residence Voters Act. So we've got both of those bills passed on first vote, and we'll be having another hearing on those two later this month. I do want to give a shout out to Ward 1 ANCs particularly, because I know everyone worked really hard to help get the voters' right amendment resolution over, and really expressing how important it is for our Ward 1 community to have this bill be able to pass. We have a long history of immigrants, undocumented, documented, permanent residents, DACA students, no matter what it is in our ward. And I think it means a lot that we were the ones who were able to help push this forward, along with various other organizations and groups. But I just want to give a shout out to you all for that as well. We also were able to get the Equal Access to Changing Tables Amendment Act passed. And what this will end up doing, or what will require, will be the installation of changing tables in a new cannot see. Renovated bathrooms. So, we will start implementing more changing tables in all bathrooms, making it more accessible for anyone who has a child needing to go in and help need to do what most of the time they need to do, which is changing the babies. And in this case, it won't be limited to just certain bathrooms. We will try to make it more accessible for all. Lastly, the paid family leave started October 1st. Hundreds of thousands of private sector workers in DC became eligible for expanded paid leave benefits. And so what this will do, it will allow expansion for 12 weeks of paid parental leave, 12 weeks of paid family leave, and 12 weeks of paid medical leave, and plus 2 weeks of prenatal leave. Councilmember Nadeau was a strong supporter of paid family leave and will continue advocating for programs that help our working families, again, to make sure that we are providing all the necessary tools and access resources that our families in Ward 1 needs, but all of DC as well. I don't think I have much else to do. If you all have any questions, I will gladly take any, but again, I can also just give my information out to you all if you ever want to reach me outside of here. I also live in the ward, so you can always find me walking around or just hanging out. So you can always, we can always meet up any other time too if you want to get any other updates. But again, thank you for having me here today, and I will wait before I walk off if there's no questions.
Jackie, thank you so much for being here
Yes.
and for coming in. They were so excited about your update.
Yes, it's my first time.
Yes, sir. It's so exciting. Okay. Anywho. Oh, you got me.
Yeah.
Jackie, thank you so much for jumping in as well, being our meeting. One question on budget items.
Yes.
It's never too early for budget. We have some folks on specifically DPR properties and how we can get more funds allocated towards specifically like Banneker, Harrison, different areas. Should we route those through you right now, or is the council member going to start thinking about budget much later?
No, we can start getting some of those information in now. Again, as you said, it's never too late.
Yeah.
You know how budget season gets.
Yeah, exactly.
So if those are some things that you already have in mind, like, or if you have some information that you'd like to share, please do. And I will help communicate it with our legislative team as well. And normally Fridays we do or most of the team do their updates, what they learned throughout the week. So whenever, if you are able to give it to like share those thoughts with me tonight, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if not, we do have time, and whenever you're ready to, I definitely will take them in.
Well, and I can follow up with you via email, but harkening back to the last budget that was passed and is now being implemented, one piece that's important to some of my constituents, the funding that was in the budget for renovations at Rita Bright Youth Center, and I know that was a priority of the council member. Do you guys potentially have any update on kind of the timeline of how that funding is going to be deployed and rolled out for renovations? Yes.
So in that case, it would be something that would defer over to the main legislative team. We have been, what is that called? Restructuring, because one of our team members went off to a new job, and so now we're putting everybody into new different roles. I think most of you may know some of them, like David Many, and we can definitely follow up on that. I know for sure that they will have more information on what those updates are. I'm familiar with them, but I do not know the money part about it.
Great. No worries.
Any other
Any
questions?
other commissioners? Any questions from the community for our Ward 1?
Good, how are you?
Actually, Amanda had touched base on it, but I really want to have some critical insight on the funding for Harrison Recreation Center. It has been, there are some funds sitting to the side, but I specifically want to see the funding that is going towards the programming for Harrison Recreation Center during the time that it's whatever renovations that need to be done, but in lieu of the renovations, because we do have groups of people who need to have that programming at Harrison Recreation Center during the day, parents and children and teenagers. I would certainly like to see the council member make sure that that is all the programming with the relevant leaders, all the different activities that they can possibly bring there, from chess to basketball to all the fun things that community members need to engage in. I would like to see her really put some energy towards that particular recreation center.
Okay. And if possible, I would love to follow up with you more on that, just to make sure that those information are shared. Before I head out, I will come over to you and just see if you can. I was gonna say, but I was like, maybe let me just make sure if there was another one, unless you want me to email you on that one.
Yeah, well, whichever one that you have.
Okay, I have your 3D, but
Right.
okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't coming at you as one of our partners, or if you were here as just a resident who cares.
I'm here and I'm wearing several hats today, but the 3D CAC is really for public safety, the one that I'm really interested in.
Okay.
And seeing the Harrison Recreation Center.
Okay, so that will, and then that will be the same thing with what I was able to share with Commissioner Benha, that we are gonna, I can relate this back to the council member and our legislative team as they're more knowledgeable on all those budget items. But I will make sure too that I at least personally follow up with you to let you know if there are any other updates, or if you have any other questions you would love for me to relate to them. Of course. I'm glad that you brought that up too, because I definitely have looked into that as well. And want to make sure that any parks and recreation work with the PR is also acknowledged. So if we have any updates next meeting, if it's Kevin who comes in, definitely will be making sure that we keep you all up to date on that.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for joining us in a walk in ANC 1B01 earlier this fall. One thing that I think is you're seeing across the U Street corridor is individuals with behavioral health challenges not getting connections to the services that they need. So I appreciate that we were able to talk about that with the council member on the walk. It's kind of a budget question, but not necessarily. Just if you could share anything that your office is doing to support individuals who get connected to services, especially I think a lot of connections were lost in the pandemic as routines change. And so we're seeing behavior really vary, and just want to kind of put it out there as continue to be a priority from on that end of the corridor, and effort from elsewhere as well.
Yes, and then that one I can actually talk a little bit more, because that is in my purview. We, along with working with you, which I do appreciate you helping put us together with some of the residents on 7th and T, that we are very much aware that there's some I wouldn't say miscommunications or just lack of, when it comes to how do we provide these type of services in our community. What we've been learning is that, and it may have been because of the pandemic, but there has been, I guess, lack of knowledge of how to do those. So a lot of our residents, what I've noticed and what I've heard also is that they didn't know that they could contact DPH or the crisis center to be able to like share that something is happening within their community, or that, you know, these are things that are going on. Sometimes I feel that that residents have an understanding of what they believe they need to do for themselves, or the information that they should have, but it's not always the right information to share, which can be very frustrating, and that I definitely understand. So what we're trying to do is work with our partners to see how can we provide more of that information to share with our residents, to share with our neighbors, so we know exactly what it is that they need. They're not doing too much work, but at the same time, they're providing the type of information that will help ensure that some initiatives or some actions are taken. Again, it can be very frustrating. So my team and I, so my director and constituent service specialist, we have actually talked about being able to work with our community leaders, such as yourselves, to provide some of that information out there. That will be in the works and I know that we are now working with the mayor's office on task force that can help with more of that information as well. But a lot of this is just to help give that out there, but also make it more digestible, because these are things that are happening all the time. And I know that our residents have been taking their own actions to ensure that these things are being met, that these things are being looked at, but sometimes it doesn't get resolved. And it's because of the type of information we need to provide. And I know that, again, that can be very frustrating. So what we're trying to do is just make sure that we have the right information. We're working with our social services partners. One of the few that I've seen that was a good model has been with like District Bridges, Miriam's Kitchen. Like, they've done really good work at coming out to the communities and working with individuals who may need extra help, but we need to do that more all over. And so those are some of the things that we're talking about. And I know that there's going to be some more updates coming soon, not in a place where I can share them, but I hope that they will be coming out so everyone else can know soon what they could be. But I hope that answers the question.
I think we'd all be happy to help with the information dissemination or advocate for more resources.
Yes, definitely, please, because you've been really good at that. Anybody else? Hey, Josh.
Hi, yeah, Josh Jacobson. Can you comment on any sort of accountability mechanisms for DPW? I know the commission passed a resolution, I think last month, for the trash cans being removed, and we've had a couple removed on the 2600 block of River Avenue, and trash has just gotten much worse. And I think it's because people had done some illegal dumping there, but doesn't sort of help the situation.
Yeah, so that was been a kind of a mystery, at least on my end. This is something too that I can follow up with Director of Constituent Service, Oscar. I'm pretty sure some of you may have already worked with him before. But from what at least we did learn is that there has been a lot of, for some reason, trash litters, cans being taken away from the neighborhoods. Like, I've had a few who contacted me saying, why was my trash can removed? From what I've seen or spoken with constituents, is that it was very random. Most of the time it was because it was around somewhere where property was being constructed, or they were doing some minor construction. So but I don't want to say that that's the reason why. It's just interesting that those were what was happening with the ones that I spoke to, but others have also said that they've just been out.
I will say, just to interrupt you for a second, but totally second the observation. I think we had Commissioner Bana, Commissioner Ewert mention this at the last meeting. I also have seen Councilmember Louis George mention it on social media, so it's not just a Ward 1 problem, it's Ward 4, district-wide. I would love to see the councilmember write a letter to DPW. I'm happy to do a resolution on this because I somewhat blissfully thought it would stop, but clearly this is in DPW's strategy to remove litter cans across the district. So love to see a letter from you all asking why, how, and when, and then when we can see replacements. And happy to support you with a resolution if that would be helpful as well.
No problem.
Let me give you a little insight to how DPW works.
Let's hear.
It is based on, they do placements.
Right.
And then community members will say, I don't want this trash can in front of my house. So they get a petition, they get their neighbors to sign it, say, we don't want this trash can. DPW in a few months will come and take the trash can away. So what you will have then is, which I had on George or on Sherman, I had 3 petitions circulating at the same time to remove the trash can, move the trash can, install the trash can. In the same
All opposite.
2 block area. So they did actually move one to a place that no one asked them to. And they took away a trash can and put it in recycling. So it's kind of based on community input. It does not come to the ANC for comment, which that should be something that we should push.
Yeah.
We have at least some notification.
So I'll just echo, so James, I'm actually less concerned if neighbors petition and decide they don't want one. But in like the case of in my district, it was just taken away carte blanche. I got an email one day and it takes them weeks to like dispose of actual trash. It took 2 days for them to, over my objection, take the trash can. I've sent the promise that the trash can will be returned, but it's been 3 weeks and, well, it's been 3 weeks, the trash can has not been returned.
Okay.
So hopefully that resolution, we asked for a lot of data. I don't know when, if they'll ever respond to it, but you mentioned Councilmember George, Councilmember Lewis George, her proposed legislation was that they would have to publish an NOI and notify the ANC or publicly that they were going to move the trash can.
I love immediate answer on why, where, and how.
Yes.
So the letter, I think, could help with that, because they're required to answer, but I agree, the legislation would provide great.
And it shouldn't be the responsibility of community members to deal with that.
Yeah.
This was brought up in our last meeting, which specifically what Eric is talking about, where there's only 2 cans removed on my block. And it was because we complained about the fact that trash was piling up.
Right,
We knew where the trash was coming from.
right.
And they took the can away and then left the trash there for like 3 weeks before they finally picked it up. But we were able to get together as a group and actually have them track down, because we already knew where the trash was coming from.
Right.
And they got a $5,000 fine.
Good.
But that's the exception to the rule.
Right.
And the problem is they're just moving garbage cans out without anyone. And their logic is, if there's no garbage cans there, nobody will put the trash. And that's
Which is
ridiculous.
illogical. Okay, I will stop us there. I have comments and questions. If anyone had something they wanted to share with Jackie, please let any of us know here, and we will make sure to get it over to her.
Yes, and again, because I'm filling in for Kevin, I will obviously any follow-ups that I've spoken with you all here today, I'll also get to do that. I'm sure that he already has much more of this information, especially with the litters. But again, that's something that we've been seeing. At least we've been hearing it in Ward 1, but we've known that this is happening all over DC. So I will definitely make that a priority to bring up, at least to have a discussion with our team. And I hope that helps with everything.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
If you have any other questions, please, I'll be here for a bit longer. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
At 7 o'clock, our meeting will come to order. This is the monthly meeting of ANC 1B. It's October 6th. We're in person at the YMCA at 1325 W Street Northwest. Madam Secretary, if you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Vanderhand,
Present.
Commissioner Olasky,
Present.
Commissioner Mar, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Kinsey,
Present.
Commissioner Floyd, Commissioner Ewart, Commissioner Bana,
Present.
Commissioner Turner,
Present.
Commissioner Farnan,
Present.
Commissioner Harris, present. We have a quorum of 7 of 11.
Commissioners, you have an agenda before you, contains a consent agenda.
8, I'm sorry, I miscounted. No, oh yes, I didn't count it.
That's why she's not treasurer.
8 of 11.
You have an agenda before you that includes a consent agenda. There's one item to add under new business, a late breaking item for a special committee from Commissioner Bana. Is there a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda?
I move we approve the agenda and the consent agenda.
Is there a second? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Financial reports?
Yes, we are. I'm happy to report that we have resolved all canceled check issues with OANC. So we have received our final Q4 allotment from the previous fiscal year. We will receive the Q1 allotment for this fiscal year at the end of the calendar year once we submit our quarterly financial report. We have over $120,000 in the bank. And we have spent to date, I actually don't have that number in front of me, but we have spent to date in this year well under our budget. So we are looking at community endorsements and, sponsorships that we can support for 501c3 certified organizations towards the end of the year. That is the area of the budget that we allotted the most money to at the beginning of this calendar year and what we have to spend. Thank you.
I have a
Questions?
question.
Yes.
Can we put out something to the wider community about how a 501c3 can request
Yeah.
sponsorship? Because I think that there are some out there that maybe don't know the pathway to get
Yes.
ANC support. And even when I've tried to encourage some folks who are doing good work, I don't always know the best way to guide them. and
Great.
get them on the good stuff.
I have a form, but it is admittedly outdated. So I'm happy to put that in a nice form like you have with ABR and just get that out in the newsletter, and I'll send it to all the commissioners here as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I have a question too.
Commissioner Kensick.
Yeah, so did we not spend any money for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022?
Yes, we did.
We did spend all money down to zeros?
No, we have 120,000 in the bank. And then we spent, I can get you the exact number of what we spent in that fiscal year. Sorry, I don't have that. But we did spend, but we spent under budget.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For those that want to view the budget, it's available on the DC Auditor's website
From
as
the past fiscal year.
all ANC budgets are there.
The auditor's report, it's called the Office of DC Auditor. Yeah. That is actually all time. So there's no forfeiting of funds if you don't use them. So for the Advisory Neighborhood Commission, that is, our coffers that we have in case that we need them. But that has been built up ever since the existence of ANC 1B.
And I wanted to highlight, because I've gotten questions before from some people about
Right.
the budget. And the reason I feel like part of why we have a lot of money in the budget was there were a lot of expenses during the pandemic that we didn't spend on printing things and office space and having in-person meetings. So I've gotten questions about that, and I think that that's part of it.
In addition, we did not always have the flexibility to spend using sponsorships. So that was something that actually Chair Turner advocated for prior to a lot of commissioners here. And now we've been able to spend, but it has been slow, Commissioner Bana, to build up the folks who we're able to reach out to and make sure that they're qualified for those funds. So hopefully we'll be able to spend down some of that, but also keep a nice nest in case we need it.
I have a budget question.
Yes.
The annual report.
Yeah.
When was the last annual report for 1B?
So the DC auditor did an annual financial report with healthy finances for all ANCs, and that is what you can find on the auditor's site.
I'm sorry, I know that most commissions produce their own annual report. So I was
Yes.
just wondering when was ANC?
So just as a note, it's not required of ANCs to produce an annual report. However, I believe the last one we did was one I did in 2020, and I'm happy to share that with you.
Is it on your site?
I believe it is, but let me make sure.
Okay.
But I can make sure it is on our site. So when you go, you can find it. Thanks for asking.
Strong maybe.
I just want to.
Yes.
Let everybody know when we're talking about budgets. I'm sure everyone is aware that as of December 31st, the ANC structure.
Yes.
The new ANC is coming into play in Ward 1 throughout the whole city. So part of the restructuring of the ANC is they take all the money that's left in all the accounts at the end of the year. And we will reapportion it.
Yes.
So the money that's in the account at the end of the year, not necessarily what the ANC will have.
Right.
So everything.
And our fiscal health is what will support the success of the new commission. So thank you.
You actually brought up a very good question, Patrick. Since there's a redistricting
Mhm.
and ANC 1B collected the funds, are you saying, Patrick, that that's going to be dispersed to another ANC?
Well, let me just
I'm just
clarify.
hearing what he said. I'm just-
Right, no, I totally understand. Let me just clarify for everyone to understand what reallocation and collection means. Because we don't collect anything different than any other ANC. We just spend differently. So every ANC gets allotments from the district budget. And we were able to fiscally be responsible and just have quite a bit of money ready. And the new ANC will take funds from every other ANC that exists right now.
So,
Okay, because we don't have things, a budget report, an actual annual report.
There is an
You know,
annual report
Okay,
on the
I'm
DC Auditor's
just
report.
curious, just out of curiosity, wouldn't it behoove the members of ANC 1B and the constituents of ANC 1B to know how monies is moved from ANC 1B as opposed to it just haphazardly just dispersed to someone else?
it requires council action. They're debating it now. There's two proposals on the table. One is to take a set amount of funds from the general pool and distribute it to fund or turn up the 6, 7 new ANCs.
Yep.
So that would come off the top. That would reduce the allocations. The allocations are done by per person in each of the SMDs and then consolidated into one allotment for the ANC as a whole. So the current 1B, which includes part of Pleasant Plains, a lot of Pleasant Plains, South Columbia Heights, and U Street, and Ladroit
Lower
Park,
Georgia Avenue,
does
include one.
will include a major part of 1E going forward. So those funds should go to 1E, but we don't know that that'll happen. Some of the funds should go to 1A, which is now part of Columbia Heights, or it comes down into the 1B territory. So the funds should follow the populations or the new populations. It doesn't work that way in each ward. Some of the wards have ANCs that span wards, like there is an ANC that's in Ward 3 and 4. So it makes it a little more complicated for that one.
We're happy to send you the legislation though, Karen.
Does that help, Karen?
Because I would like to see the new 1B weigh in on the movement of any funds from the 1B coffers before, and if that's, because I think that it would behoove them to be able to give some better buy-in
Great.
as to what the movement of the ANC 1B funds to a newer one. I understand the disbursement, but if the council voted to have the new redistricting, they should allot the funds to those specific
Right.
new ANCs.
Great.
And I don't see it, why should it be transferred from one who spent their time, as you made it clear, and
Mhm,
it built up over time
mhm.
to go into a new one? Why can't
Absolutely.
they just do it like that? That's just a thought from the community.
No, thank you for bringing that thought. Okay. Thank you. It's a good conversation.
Update on short-term family housing, Commissioner Bana.
Yes, so we are really excited to have a few folks from the Corral here today, Ron and Destiny. We had a great update from them that I shared with commissioners of a lot of what the programs they had over the summer, connecting children in the trail with summer programming. And then now that school is back, there's also some tutoring programming and things of that nature. The folks over at the Terrell are really great, and they're a great partner. I did want to highlight that there is a drive going on this weekend. The members of the Federal City chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority have coordinated a donation drive this Saturday. And so they're raising funds and collecting supplies for families that are staying at the Terrell short-term family housing. So they'll be at the Lowe's at 2438 Market Street Northeast from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. That's where they're going to be collecting the supplies. And then around 1 p.m., they're going to be dropping them off at the Terrell, and they would love volunteers to help with that drop off. So I'm just sharing that out with the community. So that's 10 to 12 at the Lowe's in Northeast, and then they'll be dropping off at 1 p.m. At the Terrell, which for folks that aren't aware, the Terrell is on 14th and Clifton. Really happy to have them as a part, and thanks Ron and Destiny for being here.
Very well.
Mhm.
Would like to make a comment? Comment on operations on the building? Anything you want to say?
I got a bunch to say, yeah. First of all, guys, I'm Ron Parker, Program Director from Terrell Shelter and Family Housing, representing for DC. Thank you very much, sir. All right. So I'm super excited to finally get out and see everybody. So hello. Thank you, Commissioner Benner. We really appreciate that, and certainly being here is important to us. So obviously, the Terrell is very new in the community in Ward 1, and we're excited about it. I call the building the Cadillac. It's beautiful. It runs well. We haven't had any issues, and certainly as it relates to performance, we've been very fortunate with everything in the building, not having any issues whatsoever. And just to add some more good news for those of you that are unfamiliar with us, we do some great things in the community with families that experience homelessness. All right, and we do our very best to make sure, we do our part to eradicate that in the district. So we're getting families out in 90 days or less. We now are doing some great things. He mentioned the Delta Sigma Theta event that's happening this weekend. We're excited about that. And please don't be shy. If you want to stop by, you can come in and ask for Mr. Parker. I'll come out and get you. All right. So you might maybe give you a tour, but it's a great place. The other final two pieces is that we're doing Halloween at home for the children. We have 66 children in the building now, so we're gonna get them all pumped up. We're not gonna do as much candy, so there'll be some book bags and things given out, but it should be fun for the children. We're also preparing for our Thanksgiving festival in the building. And remember, please, we're always looking for help for the children. So we're starting our Christmas toy drive, really now. So if you have people who want to donate, if you want to donate, please come by and visit, all right? Any questions for me?
On the occupancy, are you full occupancy on the families and the senior side?
No, sir. So on the short-term family side, we're sitting at 15 families with 66 children. On the permanent side, okay. So we're still growing and we're helping a lot of families.
Thank you.
question.
Thanks for being here, guys.
You got it.
Get us the details of all those drives
Yeah.
so we can put in our newsletter.
Will do. Yes, sir.
Do you do any agriculture in Fayetteville?
We don't. But if
Maybe
you have some,
should.
I know if you have some ideas, I'll leave my email address. We can talk. Yeah.
I do aquaponics, hydroponics, repon certification, cotton, work lab, and install solar.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
well.
Public safety and community engagement, Commissioner Fana.
Thank you. All right, that MPD promise is still hanging in the ether. However, just wanted to give an update from the community engagement side, that the Hoop for All program, wow, that feels like so long ago, but it was last month. Hoop for All program was held at Banneker Rec Center. It was their 10th annual event. So they raise funds and have a basketball tournament for people who went to Howard University, just like the founders of this program did, people in the community, and people who are great at basketball. I showed up thinking we were going to get, a friendly game of ball, but no, it was very competitive and it was awesome. We had a good showing of commissioners there. So thanks to all who came and said hi. IO is their leader of the Hoop for All Foundation, and we have now sponsored their organization in that specific event for 2 years in a row. So hoping the future of 1B will be able to continue that annual sponsorship and engagement. That was just a quick update on a community engagement front. From the public safety side, we have been sending out updates and seeing specifically the community engagement MPD officers. There's a team of 4 that's in 3D. 3 I always see out, and 1 is normally on the bike. So I'm a huge advocate for folks on the bike, getting out, talking to folks. I was out early this morning and saw someone in uniform engaging because they were on the pedal bike, pull over and just start talking to folks on the street. So I love to see that because that's the type of policing that I want in our community. And I will save any other thoughts for follow-up, and hopefully they will come and we'll have some conversation with them later. That's all.
Next meeting?
Oh, next meeting has not been set yet, but it will likely be end of November and we'll probably do it in this room. I'm hoping to get someone from our Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. So they've had some new hires.
Okay, thank you. Karen, do you want to make a comment from the 3D Community Citizen
CAC.
Advisory? Yes.
I'll get it all out for you. Good evening, everyone. I'll have a loose standing here. Good work with you guys. I'm Karen Gall. I'm your 3rd District Citizens Advisory Council Chairwoman. And what we do, we're a bridge between the community and MPD. If you happen to have any public safety needs in your buildings, if you have them at your job, if you happen to come across any particular thing that you, as a community member, you feel like the police officers really need to address it, that you just can't regularly pick up the phone and call 911 for. We have regular monthly meetings at the 3rd District or at locations. It could be at your apartment complex. We have them on the last Thursday of every month, and they're at 7 p.m. Karen Gall, my KarenGaal, and the email address is 3dcacdc@gmail.com. Telephone number 202-854-1620. If you can't reach the commander, call me. I'll reach the commander. And what we do, we would never turn you down in regards to a question. We had a few community members who was invited here who had questions that they wanted to have addressed in regards to their public safety issues from the statistics that the commander gives. Generally, it would be any of the crime stats that he'll give you about the collections of weapons, the robberies in the area. We have a crime card on the MPD website that you all can refer to. And you can also, if you click the 3rd District, you'll see my name listed on there, and you can catch me on that area too. Does anyone have any questions in regards to public safety that I would be happy to answer? Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. King.
Hi, Michael Campbell. I just was curious in the campaign to involve youth and adults in both these meetings. And as a matter of fact, as well as in the ANC meetings as well. I know public safety is a huge issue in one D as well as the entire district.
Yes,
right. It's just a huge issue, and our peers, my peers, young adults, youth, fearful, and have the same concerns that adults have and that seniors have. And I think that by bridging that gap and by campaigning to bring more youth into these meetings to allow the young adults to actually see what is taking place and hear the concerns, it can actually have a better curve in the crowd. And I know it can yield good results. I've seen that.
Yes, sir. We actually do. We have a youth engagement meeting within. That's one of the every time we have an agenda, youth engagement is on our agenda. We have a person who is, I don't know if his name is Mr. Ball. I think it's Roy Ball. He's a youth advocate. And what he does, he comes and he speaks with us. We talk about gun violence. We talk about how to have creative engagement with youth in the neighborhood. I was just speaking to Ms. Destiny about having one of our other just an offering that we have where we bring in people that we know, this DJing and mural drawing, and then we have like journaling, like arts and crafts. And this is the reason why you heard me bring up the need for programming at Harrison Recreation Center, because that was one of the things, because we want to make sure that the youth in the community has consistent engagement. Everybody heard the term idle minds. And so We don't want those itemized, but we also want the community to know that youth grow up to become adults. So if we have civically engaged youth, we have civically engaged adults. So that's our drive, and thank you very much. Did you have any additional questions?
No, I just wanted to emphasize that there are oftentimes lots of programs and lots of resources
Yeah.
available. But
Yeah.
oftentimes also the youth and young adults do not know of these resources and these programs. Just walking here 2 blocks, I told about 10 peers about this meeting and invited them to come. And everyone was clueless of where ANC was. So I just feel like we definitely need to focus more on the campaign to show them and to educate them on what's in our actual neighborhood community.
I thank you for that question. And I'm not sure, I'm not going to take up too much more
Yeah.
time of the meeting, but I definitely thank you for that question, Mr. Campbell. It's really a pertinent question. It's consistently on our agenda. We do keep youth engaged. They're always welcome to the 3D CAC meetings every time. So we don't turn anyone away. Everyone in this room is welcome. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Yes, 202-854-1620. You're quite welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Chairman
yes, sir.
Goss, I just want to tell you that I've been to a couple of the meetings, found them very helpful, the in-person meetings. I feel no one really likes sometimes being at a police station. As you mentioned, there's a couple different times and places they can do it. But I do say that it's very important for the community to engage, ask questions, as we all seen, not only as you mentioned in DC, but across the United States, it's going a little cray-cray. So it's a great time to get to talk to the police. They're very open. They give great suggestions, ideas, and it's a very open forum.
Great.
Very transparent.
Thank you both. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, Mr. Campbell, we do have 2 paid internship opportunities at the ANC and 1 admin consultant opportunity. So would love to hear around after, get with you and talk about those. And we're looking for younger folks to fill those positions. Okay. It's your turn.
CPD, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Nelson, and I chair the ANC's 1B Zoning Preservation and Development Committee. This month, we met and had a brief discussion about 1250 U Street, our ongoing PUD project.
Nelson, speak up.
Can you speak up?
Oh, sorry. We had a discussion about the 1250U PUD and the benefits package that is being worked on. It's an ongoing process. We're kind of hoping to kind of tie that up within the next month or so that we can start really negotiating and figuring out what items are going to be part of the official ending plan. So if you're interested in that and have any input on that, they come to the meeting almost every month and give us a brief update. There's also community meetings that are going to be happening twice this month. Nate is sitting right over there. If you're interested, he can sign you up for an email. And Sable is also going to be doing an ANC participation meeting.
So for that too, to add on top of that, so we do have a open Google form that I'm happy to share with anyone here to rank the priorities, to also note any other priorities that you think we should focus on in the community benefits package. There is a community brainstorming session that is being led by the U Street Neighborhood Association on Sunday, I believe. That we'll take some of that feedback, we'll take the feedback that we hear from all of the community meetings and start to try to prioritize those to then form kind of that package. But please add in any comments. You can always email me. You can email Mr. Nelson. We'll share our email addresses. Mine is just 1b12@anc.dc.gov. And Mr. Nelson's email is cpd@anc1b.org. I can share it again later, but This has been a long process. This is about 2 years in the making. But we really do want to hear from the community on these benefits and not just from the community in the direct vicinity of the development, but also the broader community that this will affect. So please fill it out or attend a meeting. There's a lot of ideas that are circulating. We may not be able to negotiate for all of the benefits, but there are certainly some that I think we can prioritize and try to get in. But we've had at least maybe 30 meetings on this.
Yes, we are meeting out.
Yeah.
And just add to what Sable said, the meeting that she's talking about is this Sunday at 2 o'clock. And it's in the garden that is behind 1250 U Street. It's an open space. It's open to anyone. If you want to come and participate, please do. The more information we can gather, the better the plan is going to be. So there's one item that the commission needs to vote on tonight that came out of the meeting, and this is for a project at 304 T Street Northwest. It's in Larry Hanrahan's SMD. It's an HBRB case. And the applicant was asking us to review a concept and design for a rear roof deck addition to an existing 2-story basement principal dwelling at that location. This project was a very intense debate on this committee. We had a lot of issues that came up that related to this. We had information about illegal work that was done, work order that was a stop work order that was placed, a structural deficiency that caused the building to collapse. And he was trying to add this request through HBRB. Technically speaking, there's 2 sets of things here. There's DCRA and zoning and there's HBRB, but the concern from the committee was that we shouldn't be pushing forward with something to add more trouble to this until we get resolution to what is existing. So the recommendation that we're putting in front of the commission to vote tonight is to send a letter to HBRB requesting that the case be postponed until the applicant can return to the committee, prove that the damage done has been fixed, the work order released, obtaining an underpinning permit, confirming abutting neighbors have been contacted and the project is stable to be able to move forward with the additional work for the rear roof deck addition. I know that was a mouthful, but we wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So thank you, Patrick, and the committee for having the robust discussion on this site. The property owner came to the LaJoy Park Civic Association, which is how we generally get community feedback in LaJoy Park neighborhood. Just about the deck, it seemed pretty straightforward. The case has changed a lot since then. I full support the recommendation from the ZPD committee that we just need to put pause on any new construction there. I think in general, the community is supportive of a back deck. We want to keep people in the neighborhood, providing outdoor space for our families. We support that and want that. But there's a lot of issues with construction and safety concerns. So I think it's prudent to wait. So I'd like to make a motion to support the, I motion that the ANC support the ZPD committee recommendation to send a letter to the HBRB requesting the case be postponed.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second discussion. Question, if the buildings collapse, what's HRB going to do?
It's not the whole building, it's just the back
It's
wall.
not a total collapse. It's a rear portion of the building that collapsed due to the incorrect excavation of a basement without proper underpinning being done. So the issue that came before us was that he was just asking for us to review this project, which is going through HPRB. Subsequent to that, we found out all of this information. So the question that came up from the committee was, this is highly unique. We've never dealt with this situation before. What are our options? Should we be giving blessing to something that is not correct now and adding a burden on to. We also had some discussion about how he was constructing the roof deck, which we gave him some guidance on, and that's gonna change once he comes back. But the concern was, we shouldn't be supporting an additional stress on a building that's already got problems. And the question was whether there is some legality in asking HBRB, which we've done before to postpone cases. This was highly unique in that we shouldn't even support recommending them even look at it until this problem is resolved.
So this is a pause and a reset.
That's correct.
Asking HBRB to delay.
Correct.
Until, I don't know, what's the name of the new department that does
Permanent building.
buildings? Until they get reviewed it and keep the permits out.
Correct. And the reason why we're doing this, just so you guys understand, is technically speaking, I have the authority as the chair of the committee to ask HBRB to bump cases, which I've done in the past. It's not unusual. This was a concern for me in as much as this has real problems that I thought the ANC should be letting HBRB know that the commission is concerned with allowing anything to happen until these are resolved through the proper authority.
I think we need to send it to Department of Buildings as well.
Department of
Buildings. Remember DCRA was.
DCRA building,
From the amendment.
Okay, just further discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
okay, so our next meeting will be this month on October 17th. It will be a Zoom meeting as we normally do. Everyone is invited. Sometimes they get a little heated, but interesting.
Thank you. Transportation, Commissioner Harris.
Chair Turner, you missed economic development.
We'll come back. Transportation.
Okay. So Commissioner Ewart couldn't make it tonight. We have one thing to vote on, which is something that has already come in front of the commission. This is for the alley closing application for 1250 U Street. So we already voted on this, I would say maybe even a year ago, but there were some things that were changed. It wasn't entirely necessary for for the commission to re-vote on this, but just for transparency and because there has been some time in between when we initially approved the alley closing or voted to support the alley closing, for them to come back and to provide another letter to East Bank showing our support of the alley closing application. Are there any questions on it, or can I go ahead and make a motion?
If it's something we've already voted on, we can just resend it.
Yes, I have conveyed that to Commissioner Ewart. However, I think just for, again, because there was a time difference, the committee, the Transportation Committee and Commissioner Ewart felt that we should reaffirm.
Mr. Nelson.
I was just gonna add to what Sigel said, don't look at me like I'm saying something. It has already gone through the proper channels, the ANC already voted for it. The issue, if you want to say issue, is that I asked, because they came to ZPD to get their approval, I asked for the developer to go back to the Transportation Committee because the modification came out of the ZPD, not out of transportation. So out of courtesy to the Transportation Committee, I asked them to go back and just review what the changes were. And I stressed to Max, there was no need to send a vote to the ANC because we've already sent in the letter. It's already gone into the pipeline. He felt that he wanted to do it. So it's purely his decision as the chair of that committee.
Is there a motion?
I move that the full ANC reaffirm the support of the alley closing at 1250 U Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes.
The next Transportation Committee meeting is Wednesday, October 12th at 7 PM.
Thank you. Economic Development, Commissioner Henderson.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Our featured speaker was unable to make our September meeting, so we decided not to meet and postpone to October. So most of my updates are going to be looking forward than looking back. So starting with looking forward, on October 20th, which is our next meeting, we're going to have the DC Housing Finance Agency come and present their plans for their current headquarters site, which is going to get redeveloped at 815 Florida Ave. This is a pretty significant site in the district, and I know there's a lot of attention on this, so we're going to hold our first in-person meeting, actually probably at the Housing Finance Agency. They've loaned us their auditorium for that event, and they're going to present on the development plans. We haven't really seen those yet, so I'm not sure what they are. If there's a good read ahead, we have some ideas, but if there's a good read ahead, I'll be sure to send it. Hopefully have an update from DemPed on some of the other sites that the committee's been working on. So as folks in this room may know, including members of the committee that are here, the committee has historically focused on district-owned properties that are going through some sort of public disposition to provide community engagement and feedback. So think the Reeve Center, the old Grimke School, really big development projects in the corridor. We hope to get a little more update on the current status of those. At this point, there is not a lot of movement on the Reeve site. I know people are anxious to hear more about that, and we hopefully will hear from DemPed this fall about the development plans moving forward. I know I've heard from a couple tenants who are looking for some clarity on timeline. The Grimke Phase 2 development has started, so if you've been by the site, you'll see some of that work happening. And the Phase 1 looks great. If you haven't had a chance to walk by the site, please do. I made an incredible job. Yeah, there are tenants in. They're still looking for an arts tenant. So this is, part of the arts overlay, and that was a big focus of the redevelopment, but there are tenants in. Building looks great. We're talking to neighbors about some of the challenges with the site, but overall going pretty well. The only other thing I would just say is, this is a committee that can absorb other topics as they come up. So it's a good opportunity to remind people to check their new ANC lines for the election on November 8th. So your ANC may have changed. You can find that posted in a bunch of different places on the council member site. There's also an interactive site the district has propped up, and you can actually type in your address and see who will be running for the new ANC in your location. We put a pause on a few community engagement exercises once it was clear that our commission was going to change pretty dramatically in January 1st. But looking forward to early next year, we do hope to put out a community survey, have a few community forums about the Duke plan and development on U Street more broadly. So next meeting, Thursday, October 20th at 6:30. There will be at least a streaming option, hopefully the ability to ask questions as well as an in-person option at the Housing Finance Authority Agency, and hope that people can come. Happy to take questions.
That was where the old ANC meetings used to be in person. So great.
Little throwback.
Yeah.
ABR, Commissioner Boehner.
Okay, thank you. So fair warning in advance, I've got a lot of votes to take. It is the heat of tavern renewal season. So in DC's infinite wisdom, all liquor licenses of a certain type come due at the same time. That's how their renewal cycles work. So every bar with a tavern license was due September 30th. They had to apply for renewal. So ANCs across the city are dealing with the onslaught of renewal applications coming through. So that's a lot of our votes. But first we have two other votes to take before we jump into the renewals. First, we have a settlement agreement to approve. So Kiki is a bar on U Street. They came before our committee, I believe 2 months ago now. They were seeking a substantial change it's a unique situation. Essentially, they are operating in one bar, and they also have the bar next door, which is not operational. And they basically filed with Abra to make them one establishment by they're connecting them in the back, just an outside. They weren't gonna do any construction to make them one, but just connecting them via their back patios. They run into some hitches with Abra and with different agencies. And at the same time, we were working with them and Commissioner Orlasky to negotiate a settlement agreement. And so essentially we came to agreement on settlement agreement, but they still have 2 Abra licenses for the 2 addresses. So essentially we are having 2 identical settlement agreements with each address. I know that might not make sense to everybody, but in the long run, that is good in case one of these does split off into its own establishment. That settlement agreement with 1B will follow the license so that the community has a set of expectations. So that was a lot of background, but I would like to motion that the full ANC support the settlement agreement with Kiki at 915 U Street, and then also the settlement agreement with Kiki at 917 U Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second discussion, commissioners.
Just for clarity, it's basically the standard.
Yes, it's the standard. So for background for folks, we have a standard settlement agreement template that is the starting point for settlement agreements. So or with these establishments, what a settlement agreement a lot of times covers is best practices with noise management, managing lines, things of that nature. And a settlement agreement attaches to their license. So it's essentially a good neighbor protocol between the establishment, the Abra licensed establishment, and the community.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. So next up, we have a new license. This is an application for District Sports Bar at 900 Florida Avenue Northwest, also in 1B02, Commissioner Orlasky's district. It's like I said, a new Class C tavern license. So this is a little unique. There was formerly an establishment at this address called District Sports Bar / Deja Vu. They kind of were running 2 different names in one spot. They had a Class C restaurant license. Those were due back in March. They did not renew, which means they were sent a cease and desist letter by Abra. So they've ceased to exist. They didn't have a license. The landlord of that building now is applying for a new license they are going from landlord to bar operator, and they are keeping the district sports bar name. So they have applied for a new license. They came before the ABR committee this past month or earlier this month. Excuse me, we're in October, in September. The committee highlighted a lot of issues. So noise complaints from the past operation, although this person's not affiliated with, some issues with a sidewalk cafe on a very narrow street and sidewalk, some issues with the back summer garden, and some trash and grease that wasn't properly managed. So Commissioner Orlasky, myself are in conversations with, and Patrick as well, are in conversations with the owner. They're being very forthcoming, making a lot of these changes. And they are also open to signing one of those settlement agreements, which we're working on right now. However, we need to file a protest to keep our standing and keep the process going. So the ABR committee recommendation was that the full ANC protest on grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds.
Orlasky, comment?
It seems like it's gonna be a pretty damn heavy section, so I'm not gonna say too much. I don't really get tired of it. But this particular bar has had a lot of problems in the past, and I think we have to be very careful about ensuring that now that we have new owners and a new perspective, that we're very careful about what it is we're putting into our agreement to make sure that it doesn't go down a path. So I'm optimistic that we can do that. So yeah, at this point, I'm recommending that we follow the ABR committee's recommendation.
Is that a motion? Would you like to make it
I move that we accept the ABR committee's recommendation to protest the license for district sports bar, a new license Class C tavern for district sports bar. Grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds.
Is there a second?
Second and a comment. Thank you. On this specific location, I recently had a meeting with 930 Club and they recognized the change that had happened, I believe, because of the cease and desist letter. But I also have been seeing frequent security outside, so if that's something that you all just could take back as you talk about settlement agreement. What their security plan is and door checking, if they're gonna have a bouncer versus an ID checker, just thought I would share that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second, further discussion. You mentioned that this is a continuation of the same name,
Yes.
so did they purchase the license or purchase,
No, it's a new license. It's a new application.
but it was existing under the same name?
So it was called in the past District Sports Bar / Deja Vu. Now it is just called District Sports Bar. Yes.
All those in favor, aye?
Is there a comment?
Was there a comment, Patrick?
Introduce art park to the resident who is directly behind that bar and wanted to say a couple of things.
Yeah, go ahead.
There have been a number of bars where the district bar is now the Deja Vu. I've lived there way over 40 years. Clubs have come and gone, and they've changed. The last group, within the last 2 years, I can count the nights that I have slept. Because they start at 5 o'clock in the evening sometime, and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. So I've been called an hour, get up, and most of those people go home at that time. They sleep during the day or do whatever they want to do. The problem is, you got grease all down the alley, and it took us over 15 years to get the historic people to do our alley, because we got the bricks with the sand and whatever back there. And it took these people 2 years or less to do the damage they had. And it's a shame because with all the clubs, the tenants in this building are the worst that I've ever seen. And somebody needs to do something, the debt and whatever. You protested, another club was very poor in 2013, which was formerly Climax. They got that together after that. But after that, everything has been going downhill and nobody listened. So I finally got to see Mr. Olasky, because I've been calling him for a long time. I never got to meet him. But anyway, progress needs to go on. In this last time now around, there's a lot to be done. And I hope that it gets done right.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we can turn over a new leaf with this and get it on a good path to help the neighbors. Was there another question over there?
I did y'all know that building on that corner, Nelly, should be a historic building. She called it, Nelly's was Skurlock, photography. I guess my teacher taking the Danica High School and graduated by that, those, they were as good as Skurlock in New York. So I don't even know why this building turned into operation.
Thank you for being here for
Are you talking about the building that is corner?
So, oh, this is 900 Florida Avenue Northwest, just to. Okay, but well, right now we're on 900 Florida Avenue, the District Sports Bar, the Deja Vu.
We have a motion
Yeah.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes.
Great.
Next item.
Okay, the next item, we're entering the renewals. So like I said, we've been getting dozens upon dozens of notifications of renewals. So the way our committee is approaching it is we are deciding who to pursue settlement agreements with based upon one, the discretion of the SMD commissioner who for that district. Two, if we receive feedback via the form on our website. Three, if we receive feedback from community members like the ones tonight. And four, we look at if they have a settlement agreement in place already. And also we've been since January 2021 trying to get all establishments onto settlement agreements. That's been our mode to kind of get everyone on the same page. So with that in mind, we have these renewals before us, and by taking these votes, it is doing what's called a protest. What that does, it keeps our legal standing before ABRA, allowing us to begin the social settlement negotiation process so that we can get those wrapped up and we don't lose our standing in case those conversations don't go the way intended, and there has to be a more formal hearing before ABRA. So the first one, DC 9, that's at 1940 9th Street in 1B02, Commissioner Lasky's district. They are just renewing their current tavern license. The recommendation was to protest. Do you have any comments, Commissioner Lasky?
I think you kind of summed up how we, as a policy, have gone about settlement agreements. The next three on our agenda are all, and probably you're also not as familiar with them, are all establishments that don't have current settlement agreements with the community. Now, this is really not about whether or not we think they're good or bad. It's mostly about, can we get them to the table to come up with a settlement agreement with the community, so we have something that's enforceable between us and the establishment, not just ABRA and the establishment. So I guess we'll take them one at a time, but I don't have any specific objections to them, except that they don't have settlement agreements, and we're gonna try to get those done. I've spoken with two of the three, well, actually, all three of them, and hopefully we can get some progress made on that.
Want to make a motion on DC 9?
Could I actually interrupt here?
Is it on DC 9?
It is a request to move in block. renewal.
So let me just clarify that while I would like to move it as a block or a slate, we've been seeing issues where attorneys have questioned before ABRA the legitimacy of the protest because of them being done in a slate. And, while I'm hopeful that all of these can be resolved via a settlement agreement, we would not want our protests to be thrown out and our standing revoked based on a technicality of how we voted on them. So I'm gonna,
appreciate the comment.
yeah.
Is there a motion on DC 9?
I move that we vote to accept the ABR committee's recommendation to protest the renewal for DC 9 on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all other applicable grounds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion passes. Next item.
The next item is Nellie's at 900 U Street Northwest, also in 1B02, Commissioner Lasky's district. Same situation. There were some concerns presented at the committee meeting by some committee members. Nellie's was in the news last year. There have been some, there were some incidents. So this was one that the committee felt a settlement agreement should be pursued. Commissioner Lasky, any other?
No, I agree, and I would move that committee, that the ANC accept the ABR committee's recommendation that we protest license renewal for the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all other applicable grounds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Mr.
The only one on record is saying that Nellie's, like district government, since 2017 until present, in an investigation history as of 3 p.m. today, it's not only multiple assaults on police officers, failed to control litter, disturbance, failed to comply with mayor's emergency call, increase interior occupancy on numerous occasions. So I think overall, there's some issues going on, not besides what they've done to the area, but just in general, their lack of management of space, and they're not actually recognizing the city or the mayor for that. That's all right. Thank you.
I had a question. What will be in the settlement agreement?
So what a settlement agreement covers is, like I was explaining earlier, it's essentially a good neighbor protocol, and it is codifying an agreement between, so a settlement agreement can be between an ANC and an establishment. It could be between a neighborhood association establishment. And so what our standard settlement agreement covers, noise. So particularly if an establishment has an entertainment endorsement, trash, pests, managing lines, a security safety plan, things of that nature. And so we have a standard one that we use and then have to customize based upon that establishment, right? Not every establishment has an entertainment endorsement, play music. Not every establishment has an outdoor summer garden patio. And that's, you know, kind of negotiated between the establishment and the commissioner for that area.
I have a question.
Yes.
And it's mainly because of the community comments and I know I was one of the ones on the board that protest. And that was, I mean, really brought up issues. And along with what Commissioner Kinsett said, it's really an establishment. Is there anything that hasn't really been a good operator in the community, especially for certain group of people, but really it's been, I know they've been trying to PR their way up to get things back on board, but it's still an atmosphere that people still feel so they're not welcome in that establishment. And there are community members that live here who really do not really appreciate the way they operate in the neighborhood. So what are the steps that we as a community can take outside of protesting and on the ANC level? But what can we do, since they have a number of charges in their investigation report, what can we do as a community to try to get a bar shut down?
So I'll respond.
I'll ask this question. I know, Dan, you know I know.
Yeah.
I'm asking the question that has been raised.
So I'll respond in this way. It's very, very rare that ABRA ever shuts down an establishment. That's just essentially the status quo. They will, as a result of these protests, impose restrictions onto license, but even that is rare. So the best way, absent, you know, some sort of council legislation changing the status quo, for the community to get some concessions and change the, you know, behaviors of an establishment is through these settlement agreements. It's through coming to ANC meetings and making your concerns known. You know, I'll say with this particular establishment, because of some of the issues that they've had, they had involvement with the Office of the Attorney General. So there is some sort of agreement or plan that they have with that entity as well, that is mandating certain things. And so, you know, when we're working on our agreement, I'm sure we'll have to take that into account. But that's essentially really the way is by speaking with your commissioner and working on that settlement agreement.
And I know this is the very first in-person meeting, and we have some members who are not, they're not online for the Zoom meetings.
Right.
So you guys may not, and then you may just be first meeting some other people. But it's just that, you know, I just want you all to know that there is a huge energy trying to get them shut down.
Sir, is your comment directly to Nellie's? No. Can we hold it till the end and let's get through the items?
Karen, there's also the option.
Patrick, let's
Well,
get to
well,
the vote.
I
We
mean,
have a motion and a second.
we have a few community comments. Can we just,
But if not related, unless it's related to Nellie's specific.
Not
And then we'll
mine.
deal with it. Is it directly to Nellie's?
She's talking about Nelly's.
Yeah.
I was talking about Nelly's. What you all?
What's your
Why
comment?
is your comment about Nellie's?
It's in response to her and concerning that.
yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as a pastor and as a committee chair under Urban Outshot's National Action Network, if you want action taken to help them get shut down, you can always get with me, and I promise you, we will take action to get them shut down.
But to be clear, that's not something in the ANC's purview or power to do.
So even if they violate the settlement agreement, you're saying they really can't get shut down.
No. Well, ABRA can fine them. ABRA has punishments. That's the point of getting these agreements, so that it's spelled out and clear and there's something enforceable.
Add one thing to that, the fines happen on a sort of graduated scale, so if they violate the settlement agreement term multiple times, it goes up from like 500 to like 1,000 to 1,500. The problem is that those are basically nothing.
Right, 500 is nothing.
It is nothing, they actually oftentimes make more money by violating.
Is the 1,500 the max?
I think the max is at like 2,000, but it's not, it's a very small amount.
It's real,
So-
and they covered that in a night. But the question was, because people are constantly subjected to the issues, not just, and Nellie's is the example,
No,
but
I wouldn't
if-
use those as the example.
but they're the example that we're talking about right now, for
Right.
sure. That has caused, that's been a bad actor that has caused harm to the community.
Right.
And as, it's just like, if you're constantly raped by a issue, they constantly get to stay in your face. A violator should be able to be shut down. And so we want to know exactly to what level can we take it in order to get that done.
Well,
No.
No.
The community has its own tool that it can use in conjunction with the ANC.
Yeah.
You can get a party of 5 who have concerns about a bar, and you can ride along with the ANC and be able to voice your concerns directly to the board if it goes to a protest. That's always an option.
Yeah.
But if the ANC settles with the settlement, you can still push the issue individually as a party of 5. But then you're on your own, you don't have the ANC to back you up.
I think that partially answers the question about the process. What's the practical effect of any of that? I've done this for 4 years. Nothing.
Right.
Practical.
Exactly. And
I've
I've
seen,
seen
and you know what, we can talk a lot about things, but I've seen much worse. So, I mean, I implore
still
everyone to, we still try, absolutely, we do.
Yep,
What we're
that's
doing.
why we're protesting.
yes.
But,
And so is it, the next thing would go to DCRA, because DCRA they can't shut them down either.
Unless you're doing something within their purview.
As long as they're paying for their business license
Yeah.
and doing everything, no one can shut them
You
down.
can take pictures of their rats. If they have them.
So
That's DOH.
Yeah, that's. the
yeah.
only-
So I'll just emphasize again, this is the start of the conversation, not the finality. So by taking this vote, it starts the process. So
Thank you,
I
Eric.
get to finish my point. Something that I've learned in all of my time doing this is that this process, which is sort of touted by the city as the way you can actually have a voice in these establishments, you really don't. And that needs to change. And it's not going to change because I say so. It's going to change because everybody says so.
Well, I will say too, that doesn't mean you kind of, no offense to your pessimistic take. That does not mean that you sit back and you don't participate, that you don't kind of engage, raise your concerns about establishments. There have been 2 new establishments that have opened in my SMD where I worked with a lot of community members, and we were able to establish a fairly successful settlement agreement in that they've been engaging community members. They have, acknowledged different things happening. So there are downsides to it. There are limitations to what your ANC can do, but I still wouldn't discourage you from getting involved.
yeah. And there are many group of 5s who across the city that have protested bars and gotten concessions. So it's not all on the ANC. There's your neighborhood association can do it. A group of any 5 citizens can do it. So
On the motion to protest now, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions.
Okay, we'll keep it rolling. Next two votes are same set of issues. So 1942 DC at 1942 9th Street Northwest, 1B02, Commissioner Orlaski's district. This is a renewal. Do you want to make a motion, Dan?
I move that the ANC vote to support the ADOT committee's recommendation that we protest on grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all other applicable grounds.
Second.
Commissioners, discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Next item.
Next up is Cloak and Dagger at 1359 U Street Northwest. That's in 1B12, Commissioner Harris's district. Commissioner Harris, do you have any comments? I believe we have an old settlement agreement with that bar already, and
Hey, actually, I looked it up. It's not that dated. It's from 2020, but I think I do, based on community comment and seeing the establishment every day, I think it is worth at least re-engaging with them to ensure that they are following the settlement agreement and potentially changing, making amendments to say they need trash collected 7 days a week versus the 3 days that I believe that they have. They're also opening up an establishment next door that I think will put pressure on the trash again. But I will say, I think they're printed on that front, and I'm hoping that I can amend it quickly without going to a kind of, I'm hoping we can withdraw it before it comes up. Withdraw the protest.
Got it.
But,
okay. Do you want to motion it?
Yes, sorry. I move that the full ANC protest, the renewal of Cloak and Dagger on grounds of peace, order, and quiet, and all other applicable grounds.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes.
Thank you all for your patience. That's all of the items before us. The next meeting is Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. We will be having a guest speaker, Abra Director Musali. He was supposed to come to our last meeting. He was sick and he will be joining via Zoom. So he's a good person to direct some of your questions or frustrations to if you have issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. For community members, a lot of the questions you guys go down around process and what applicants do, what a settlement agreement is. It would be good to attend this next meeting. The ABRA committee is a good place to discuss those things, get an understanding, and also to get more involved in those issues, which is going to be an increasing problem on the U Street, 14th Street corridors and other corridors as we increase the level of development.
The process is also spelled out on our website, on the ABR committee webpage. There's a step-by-step explaining.
Elections are coming up in November. The ANC we have redistricted across the city, both the wards and the ANCs. To the gentleman's comment earlier, a lot of people didn't know what an ANC was and why was it being redistricted and what is the need to do it? Well, it's because of the census. And it is that each commissioner represents around 2,000 people. In 2011, when they implemented, we had roughly about 2,000. Now some commissioners have approaching 4,000 residents in their SMD, just because the population has changed, has shifted. We've created a new ANC, which is the Georgia Avenue ANC, which is taking a sizable portion of 1B with it, and 1A. The northern part has been realigned to Mount Pleasant for to break the barrier of 16th Street that no one wanted to cross on the ANCs. So now we have SMD that is part of Mount Pleasant. The little corner that where the police station and fire department on U Street was part of Adams Morgan. It'll now be part of ANC 1B to make a contiguous U Street representation, particularly with the amount of development that's coming on. So that there's a common face to look at a common plan and not Reed Center, then S Street, then V Street. If we look at those in silos, we tend to miss opportunities to do real development and create a better sense of community where it's not just a place to live and drink, but it's a place to have entertainment. It's a place to have civic activities, to build a real community. So with that redistricting, I had high hopes that we would educate on civics, how the DC government works. After much debate and lobbying, you probably got a postcard from Board of Elections.
I did.
That was about the best I could get done, and people wanting to educate on the ANCs and spend some money on it. When I got mine, I even missed that my new SMD was on the front of it. I thought it was just something on the back. So we have a lot of work to do to educate on what ANCs are, why people should be involved, why the committees are important for community folks to be involved and to have community chairs like Mr. Nelson has been at ZPD. And it does make for a better community when we do that, when we have active participation.
The gentleman in the back had a question.
Do you have a question on election or? Yeah. Yes. 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 Well, I'm glad you're here tonight. We are here to answer your questions. I will.
I have to know who, what.
Right now, we're happy to engage with you after, and you can talk to your ANC tonight, but then the new ANC will be, yeah, I'll come over to you after and we'll make sure to get, but then January is when the new map will come into class, but we'll make sure. They have online, online at Office of Planning. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Allen.
My name is Gerard Allen. I serve as the Ward 1 MOCA liaison for the mayor's office. I am replacing Anthony Moore, if some of you might have met him. Big shoes to fill, but I'm ready to do the job. I'm new to government, but I'm born and raised around Ward 1, mainly the Adams Morgan, Columbia Heights area. A lot of family, a lot of strong ties to the neighborhood. I left some information outside on my job and what it is I do. Also my business cards out there. Yeah, I can give anyone my number. If there's anything that you may need, any help navigating government services, feel free to reach out to me any time of the day. I got a couple of updates for you guys. I'm going to start with the Black Home Ownership Task Force. The Mayor Bowser and the Deputy Mayor of Planning and Economic Development Black Home Ownership Task Force announced a new goal to make 20,000 additional Black DC residents homeowners by the year 2030. The strike force has also published a report that includes 10 recommendations to support the new goal. I wanted to get some of those pamphlets out here, but they're still getting printed up. I will get some to the ANCs and get them out to you guys. As well, Mayor Bowser said this goal is a first step into undoing the lasting legacy of discriminatory housing laws that locked many Black families out of home ownership throughout the 20th century. This is about helping 20,000 Washingtonians buy homes, but it also is about helping 20,000 Washingtonians build generational wealth to stay in DC for generations to come and benefit from prosperity of Washington, DC. For more information and to read the full report, please visit theblackhome.dc.gov. If you like the hard copy, again, let me know and I'll get that to you as soon as possible. The second one is a reminder about DCRA, that it has split into two agencies. I'm not sure if y'all touched on that, but briefly. So as many of you may have heard, October 1st was the first day of the DCRA split. Now operating as the Department of Building, DOB, and the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, DLCP. Since the Establishment Act of 2020 became law a year ago, there's been much preparation for this day. Both agencies have also launched the new websites, which can be found at dlcp.dc.gov and dob.dc.gov. Those addresses again are dlcp.dc.gov and dob.dc.gov.
I have a question about that. In terms of community members who have engaged with DCRA before, and this is a very tactical question, but what will the email addresses, so if they're emailing a contact at DCRA, will that automatically redirect to if that person is at Department of Buildings or DLCP?
Okay, I just got off the phone with DCRA, Ms. Inez, and everything is kind of a work in progress. What you're looking for, you will get whoever, if you email somebody that is formerly of that position, they will still get that email. Okay. They'll be funneling and filtering it to the appropriate area or who needs to get it at that time. But if you have a long-standing relationship with some of these DCRA reps, they'll continue to answer the questions. They'll continue to help as much as they can. But again, things are changing as of October 1st. So again, a facelift, and a lot of the people, they don't understand what's going on. So it's going to be an ongoing process. Just hoping that you bear with the agency and as their transition time.
Most important, who is my buddy Inez?
Ms. Inez is a hard worker. I will say, I'm about for this, all right? She's working hard, right?
Which one did she land?
Oh, yeah.
Permitting now.
Permitting, so DCL. What was it?
Yeah, licensing and consumer protection. Yeah.
Because I've already called her 3 or 4 times about stuff.
Jared,
She's still on board.
Jared, could you explain for folks who aren't as familiar what the intent of the split into two was? There's a question over there about that.
So I'm not the DCRA expert. I'll give you my contact. What I can say is it's been a strain. It's been a lot that's been asked of DCRA. And now they're trying to kind of get a hold of it by kind of relieving some of the work on, some of these offices.
I'll add some context to that. So it was a DCRA, Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs, big agency, tasked with a lot of different things, from inspecting safety of building, issuing certificate of occupancy, to more minute things of like permitting and regulating stores and businesses. It's tasked to do a lot of things for many, many years. People have said it's too big, trying to ask them to do too many things. It's finally been split into two. The thought is that each one will do their job better. Remains to be seen.
From Patrick having a cosmetology license to Sharon building a building. So then those are things that are not terribly related. So it made sense to take the regulation piece.
No question from you, sir, in the back?
Well, I was gonna ask, because I've had a number of tickets submitted to DCRA. So I'm sure it's probably answered somewhere online, but I haven't read. But if for those tickets that have not been answered, if there are visits that have been scheduled, and say like for one ticket, it was said that someone came out and inspected, and I never seen them, I never heard them, but who do I reach now in that place?
When I get finished, I'll come over there and get your contact information and get you the right information that you need. All right. Anybody else?
My name is Ms. Thompson.
I do know you, Ms. Thompson.
Mr. Turner, I've been on travel for most of the year. But we've been trying for 2 years to get a crosswalk at the Gresham and Georgia Avenue.
Isn't it that the paint wore off when they tried to put it on one?
No, they moved it.
Listen,
Right, I don't even, I can't even speak. Yeah,
They took it away and they put it one
yes.
block up. All the businesses are here with the kids and the business. You have to go up the street to cross. And they had sent the ice cream bars, some crazy letter saying that based on their minds, the crosswalk belong there rather than where we have it. I have to come up and wave. Yeah, wave. All the businesses are here. So Mr. Turner, you have taken over from our ANC person. And you know we were back and forth with Darren Jones and the ANC. I need to know where that is. I'm assuming I want to cross and crosswalk.
So
Not up the
there's a
street.
crosswalk to block it, right?
Yeah. You don't want it there.
It's, where's the ice cream place? Is the ice cream place where it went away?
No, it's there. And she has been, we've all been in communication with the ANC.
I'm just reiterating myself.
Yeah.
Crosswalk was taken away
Okay.
and
Yeah.
they moved it to where she's
And
talking
they moved
about,
it.
which is no,
I mean,
it's
it's
in
no
the middle
one
of a
here.
restaurant.
We try to get it
It
back.
got moved to block up, but
It
you want
got
to move
moved
it to
and
block
they
back.
put in that big electronic blah, 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 that no one
Yeah,
uses
we
it.
don't want it there. And that light is function. That light,
The hooks system.
that light going south blinks while you got the one crosswalk. So I know that when I have the crosswalk, I have to, I wait. Because you start and that light is still blinking and the traffic is going. But most importantly, I need to know what's happening with that crosswalk, why we can't get it back.
I think we should get a detailed person out and get a detailed person to visit the site. Gerard, if we want to work on that together.
Yeah,
And I can tell you exactly where.
yeah, I need that.
And Mr. Darren Jones has been talking about this as well, so. We'll get a detailed person out to the site and we can say, what, how can we get this moved down?
Yeah, they've already been out like 4 times.
There've been several times.
This
Why
has
do they
been
keep saying
going
no?
on for at
No,
least-
I know, I
at
talked to
least
Darren.
2 years. And their logic is so stupid, it isn't even funny. The crosswalk that was there was working fine.
Yeah.
And they said, they came out and used their wonderful guru magic and said, it doesn't fit here, we need to move it somewhere else. And it's in the middle of a block where there's no.
I know, I've seen it, yeah. Yeah,
People
I
don't
agree,
use it.
I agree with you. Oh, we can look. Yeah, let's put the trash can in the road.
That's it. Nobody has any more questions? I'll be around for a minute to get my information out. Appreciate the time, guys.
Thank you. Just want to comment on how wonderful you've been coming in fresh, get the ground running. Very much appreciated. Commissioner announcements.
Do you need this thing?
She'll come back. I have a quick announcement about some Pepco work that is happening on the 1200 block of T Street. They are having a community meeting on October 18th. Forgive me, I need to pull up the time, but it is just to talk about kind of the plans. There was a meeting that they hosted a couple weeks ago, but the actual construction was delayed. They are beginning construction on October 24th, but they're hosting the community meeting at 6 p.m. It is just to talk about, like I said, the plans, but also to see if anyone wants one of their surveyors to come out to look at kind of the homes to make sure that everything is in place before they start construction. I'm happy to talk about that more if there's anyone who lives on the 1200 block of T Street. This is for their Capital Grid project work.
You've probably seen them out. If you have questions on any of the other areas, let me know and I'm happy to connect you with the folks there. But that's it.
Commissioner Bana?
I have a quick announcement about the Faircliff East redevelopment that's at 14th Street in between Fairmont and Euclid. So it's currently, everyone has moved out. There's a fence around it. It's going to be redeveloped into new affordable housing. The demolition is slated to begin in early December. And so I'll be hosting a meeting with the developer in late November. I have a kind of email listserv already because we had a previous meeting with the developer with neighbors. But if anyone's in particular interested in Faircliff East and that redevelopment, shoot me an email at 1bo8@anc.dc.gov or come see me afterwards. Yes.
Any update on the new senior building?
Nothing on the new senior building. It is moving to 1A, but we did have a meeting with those developers and it's about time that we touch base with them. So.
Commissioners, other announcements?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kinsey.
Yeah. October 7th, the police department and the fire department, they're gonna be working together to do an emergency preparedness training at 9:30 a.m. on October 7th. I'd like Chairwoman Gal to speak more about this, if you can, please.
Okay.
Yes.
It's actually, the only thing they're asking for you all to do is to make sure that you choose an alternate route. Because you do not want to be stuck on 16PU at 9:30 in the morning on October the 7th, which is Friday.
Tomorrow.
So just so that you're safe, and what they're trying to do is prepare for everyone to be able to, if we have a disaster, we know how to, there's a good response time. So it's for everyone's safety. Can I make a second announcement? If that's okay?
Sure.
In conjunction with that, we just did a stalker training. And so if any of you all need to have information, if you've been a victim of stalking, we're going to do a workshop to, for the public to make sure that everyone is fully informed as to what stalking is. So, I think I gave my information out earlier, 202-854-1620 and 3dcacdc@gmail.com if you're interested in attending the training.
When is that again?
The stalker training, we're actually formulating it with a couple of the chairs. We're trying to get that taken care of because a lot of people are very unaware of what stalking is and how the police can really be helpful.
Does it also go through like any other forms of like stalking, like harassment?
Actually, we're going to give you the information that we'll be providing is highly informative. I guarantee you there will be no stone unturned in regards to the information that you're going to get. You'll be amazed at the legislation that will support you if you happen to have been stalked. A lot of people don't know that they've been stalked. They don't know what stalking really entails. They think, oh, it's something that shouldn't go unreported. But trust me, there is wonderful laws in place to help you. So that's the reason why we're holding the training, just make sure that everyone's fully informed. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know when you publish when the trainings have been scheduled?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to do it pretty soon, but the goal was to try to get some of the information in our next 3D-CAC meeting to try to make sure that everyone gets it, just the beginning portion of it. But it's a huge amount of information that everybody needs to know. And I guarantee you do not want to miss that. Okay? I just wanted to give you all a heads up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Other community announcements?
We have one. Yes.
I wanted to bring up an issue that I'm having I live in District 5, Commissioner Pence's district, and he asked me if I would be interested in mentioning this at the meeting. There has been a huge issue in our neighborhood lately with construction and parking. There are at least 4 entire city blocks on both sides that have been blocked off since the start of September from 9:30 to 3:30 every day of the week.
What's your area?
I'm near the intersection of 15th and B Street. So it's B Street from 14th to 17th and Florida between 15th and 14th is blocked off. Now, the sign that I saw on the walk here this evening says through November. The combination with those 4 blocks being marked off, street sweeping still going on Mondays and Tuesdays, the AM PM bus lanes on 16th Street and all of the schools and churches in our neighborhood, there is absolutely nowhere to park. This seems like a fairly avoidable problem if DOT could only block out parking when they actually need to be doing construction there.
I think
A majority of the time, it does not actually seem to be construction going on, it's construction staging, but there's usually not equipment there. And parking enforcement has been ticketing more than I've ever seen in the last few weeks. So I would, wanted to bring this up and see if there is anything that I can do as a community member or that the ANC can do about this issue. My suggestions would be either there be some kind of moratorium on the street sweeping ticketing, since they usually don't street sweep, we just get tickets and then nothing happens. Or if mainly if DOT could only be blocking off parking in areas where they actually need to, 2 months at a time to have, I would estimate nearly 100 parking spots in the neighborhood be blocked off for almost no reason seems a little ridiculous to me. I should be able to park in my neighborhood. A couple weeks ago, it took us about 40 minutes to give up, park legally, and then get a ticket. There's just simply nowhere to park. So any advice?
So I think it is Capital Grid work. It's also potentially a mixture with the work happening at Malcolm X Meridian Hill Park. But I'm happy to connect you with the PEPCO staff that is supposed to kind of be there, be present, to know about these issues, to also flag it for kind of the ANC and kind of other relevant agencies. So if I can get your contact info after this, I can absolutely connect you. The way that, so for 1200, the 1200 block of T Street, and I think it's slightly different because it might be a different staff. Because they PEPCO contract out. They're really responsive. They try to convey, okay, these are the hours that we will be working. You will have to move your car, but they've worked with DPW and to say, okay, you can't street clean at this time, or you can't pick up trash at this time. You need to pick it up at another time, which they have coordinated fairly well with the 1300 block of T Street so far. But again, it's a little bit of a smaller space, it's a little bit easier because it's just like one way, but I'm happy to connect you with the folks there because I think it is Capital Grid work and that should be wrapping up, but sometimes there's delays and it takes a lot longer.
And Meridian Hill and Malcolm X is targeted to be done before the end of November of this year, which is great news.
Yeah, they've been
Finally.
saying that for a while.
No, I've been pressing them and I have stuff in writing now. So yeah, we're looking good.
Also, street sweeping does pause for the winter, October 31st.
It does, but the parking restrictions are ending November 2nd, tentatively now. So it's, this problem is going to be going on for the rest of the street sweeping period.
At least half of the parking within our 2-block radius is gone.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do?
Commissioner Kinsey, one thing you can do is work with DDOT,
Already started.
particularly on the signage, and take Saturday and Sunday off of it. The way they normally issue them is they issue them for Sunday to Saturday. So in the past, we've been able to get them to modify it. There is a problem with DDOT. You're not going to be surprised by this one. If you change it, then you have to buy all new permits from them. So you get additional charge if you change a day on something to remove it from the list. So that is something that could possibly be waived if you work with public space.
Just want to say thanks for being here. I know it's a long meeting to sit through to share that piece, but we hear you. And I personally walk by there all the time. I used to live on 15th and B. So I always thought, oh, construction during the day, they're gone at night. So it's good to hear your experience that it's not the truth. So thank you.
Other community announcements? Sir?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Aaron Lewis. I am this year's Vice President of the U Street Neighborhood Association. I just wanted to respond publicly to something Ms. Gall, that's your name, right? Carol?
Karen.
Something that Karen brought up earlier about recreation programs at the Harrison Center. I just wanted to make y'all aware that the U Street Neighborhood Association has a subsidiary organization, which is the Friends of Harrison Park. And we just got access to, we just renewed our friend status and also unlocked a pretty large budget of funds that are specifically earmarked for programming, cultural events, and other site improvements at Harrison. So we would love to work with anybody with your team or anyone on the ANC who has ideas on things that we can do to improve Harrison and to make that site an awesome space for community. So we'd love to talk to you after, or anyone else who has ideas. Kelsey Adams is the chair of that committee, so also happy to connect you with her. But we're really excited to get that going because we just got access to those funds last month. So yeah, I would love to chat with anyone who's interested in that.
Other announcements? New business.
Okay, so thank you, Chair. You had announced at the beginning that I wanted to propose a special committee in new business, so I'm going to do that now. I'll say in advance it's a bit lengthy because I need to follow some guidance, and so I'll just say that I don't relish in doing this, but here we go. It's just become sort of an untenable situation. So Chair Turner, I move the appointment of a special committee to review the allegations, present findings to Commissioner Kensick for response, and consolidate a report of findings, response, and recommendations to present at the ANC 1B November monthly meeting. I'm going to read over these allegations. Allegations are that Commissioner Kensick of 1B05 violated the ANC 1B Code of Conduct, DC government ethics standards, and potentially campaign finance and elections rules. First allegation, Commissioner using an official position to gain priority access to establishments in the U Street area, U Street and 14th Street area. Allegation number 2, Commissioner refusing to leave when asked at closing or to leave the premises by giving their commissioner status. Allegation 3, Commissioner has been banned from local bars and taverns due to his conduct and behavior. Allegation 4, inflammatory and demeaning emails to other commissioners, continuing after being asked to stop. Allegation 5, disruptive behavior at meetings, appearing intoxicated at meetings and continuing to do so after being asked to stop. Allegation 6, verbal and digital attacks on other commissioners, continuing after being asked to stop. And allegation 7, use of government assets for campaigning, continued after being asked to stop. The OAG guidance for censure is to conduct an open process and to allow adequate time for response to findings. So the special committee that I'm proposing will review allegations, present findings to Commissioner Kensick for his response, and consolidate a report of those findings, the response, and the recommendations to present at our next meeting of ANC 1B in November. So based on that OAG guidance, I move to appoint a special committee to investigate, that committee being made up of Commissioner Orlasky as the special committee chair, Commissioner Ewert, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Umar, and Commissioner Handerhan. I also move that they document the findings within the ANC's jurisdiction and refer other findings to agencies of jurisdiction, including BEGA, which is the Ethics Office, the OAG, Office of Attorney General, and the Office of Campaign Finance. 3, I also move that the committee present its findings to Commissioner Kensick and allow 5 calendar days for response in writing. And then finally, I move that the special committee submits a report of the findings, Commissioner Kensick's response, and a recommendation to the ANC for a vote. So we want, that was a lot.
That's a very long motion. Is there a second? Discussion, commissioners.
Well, I'd like to say that I think it's ironic since June, actually coming in here since March, not having really any leadership discussions or anyone actually even taking the time to work with me. I think it's clear to say that we have a very non-transparent 1B commission, and I'm very happy to see that we're going to have some changes coming very shortly. I think this has been plagued in the environment for over 7 years. I think people like Bana and someone like Sable.
You'll have an opportunity.
I appreciate that. I'm speaking now. Thank you. Have also gone on Twitter with slander, which I have copies of, and I just want you guys to all be aware of that. So during these special investigations, I look forward to whatever these findings have been pushing since May, and make sure that they're not existent. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll just say that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and there's a standard of conduct that I think is expected of elected officials, and Commissioner Kensick has not lived up to that standard. And like I said, we've tried to offer support to Commissioner Kensick in various different ways, and the situation's become untenable, and I'll let my motion stand.
I will also make a point of discussion that if there's any community member who would like to see the emails that have been exchanged, those are available. You can FOIA us, or I am also happy to send it. There has been scenarios where we have helped, where we have asked to stop things, to be mindful of that communication. And it has, just as Commissioner Bana stated, that it's become untenable, which is why we are doing this. And frankly, I'm embarrassed that we have to do this as a commission, because before I was elected, I knew that ANC 1B was a well-established, and it is to a degree still, but it is embarrassing that we have to do this.
Okay, as a comment, the special committee will look at the allegations. They will determine if there are validity to the allegations, create a report, present to Commissioner Kensick. Commissioner Kensick will have time to respond, correct? How many days? 5 days.
5 days.
And if there is that response, and then make a recommendation, if any, to the ANC.
Might I suggest just one?
Can I ask a question? I had my hand up first time.
Oh,
You have to vote, and then
And before, okay, and I know that you just, I'm surprised to hear this information. And I've been participating in a lot of stuff about ANC. So are you all gonna have community members as part of this special board? Because I wanna see where it's weighted, where it's more than just commissioners. Because if this is a community situation, I think that it will behoove you all to have someone, have folk who are representative of his ANC. You know, is that, or is it only something that's internal? And this is my first time hearing this from you guys. And I mean, I've been on a lot of stuff with you all. So is this something that is just amongst you all? Because it hasn't reached the broader community, or do you all have that it has? Because I haven't heard that personally.
There is a response from the OAG. I asked about who could and should be on this. Should there be a balance of community members, commissioners? The response was, this is an internal ANC issue of dealing with the ANC commissioners as a whole.
Okay,
So
and
that was
number
the
two,
advice
to
from
part
the
two to my question, because we are coming up with elections and half of you guys will be gone. So why are you all doing this now? How long has he served? And I'm just curious.
The situation has become untenable. I'm happy to share the emails that have been exchanged, the text messages that have been exchanged. You know, we talked, you mentioned, which I think is very important for commissioners to take, but there have been forms of harassment, and it could lead on stuff.
Let's take one more question and then we're going to vote.
My only question or concern is, I know we redistricted and we realigned, and I kind of think that it's kind of questionable for Commissioner Deborah Thomas to be on that committee. I mean, first of all, she represented me for forever. And if through the realignment, they are now running against each other, they're competitors. For her to be on that committee, I mean, as a pastor who really stands on, you know, doing the right thing, I really believe that that's just wrong.
I can strike her from the committee in my motion if people feel that that's a conflict of interest. We just only have so many folks on the committee to serve, and to underscore what Sable said and kind of what Karen said, like, you know, this has not been shared with the larger community because we've tried to keep our business, but it's reached a point where particularly Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Farnan have been harassed by Commissioner Kensick. And even though we have elections coming, some of us aren't going to be here anymore. Bad behavior shouldn't go unrecognized. And that's why I'm making the motion today.
But does he, and then this is still,
We
does
need
he
to
feel
vote.
the same way?
You'll have an opportunity to
Oh,
discuss
okay.
it with the committee.
Oh, okay, because I'm just curious, does he feel the same way?
We have a
Because
whole
it's
lot.
going to,
Oh,
it's
okay.
going to be open as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Then
guys,
let's
y'all
take
get
a vote.
this left field, y'all know that, right?
We're taking a vote, this is not the final vote, we're taking the first vote.
This is just for you.
Okay.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion passes.
One question to the motion itself. Eric said 5 days. 5 days from
When?
When he got 5 business days?
It's calendar.
5 days.
The one that I read was 5 calendar days.
I didn't hear you say that.
All right, having no further business, we're adjourned.
Yeah. No, we only have so many bodies, am I right?
Oh, it was cool.
Yeah.